Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. This is Saturday, March 25th, 2023, what we call the Willie Bragg Show Saturday night feature. And this is the time of the week where we're in partnership. My show, the Willie Bragg Show, is in partnership with KRTD Media. That is Kabura's news group, whereby I am on their platform and they're on mine, and we are promoting each other in the name of actually promoting independent media. Kind of a clever deal with the way that that big tech kind of censors us. So it's a great idea, and I urge each and every one of you, if you got something that you want to say, to do the same thing, because censorship is on the horizon, and it's not the quote unquote woke left that's doing the censoring. So anyhow, welcome on board, and I hope each and every one of you are doing well. Be sure to hit the like button on YouTube on my channel if you're watching it on my channel, or watching it on the YouTube channel on KRTD Media, because that helps with the algorithms. That's how that whole thing works. Subscribe to this channel here, either on my channel or on KRTD's channel, and hit the notification bell, and follow all of us on the appropriate platforms, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or all the other platforms that's in existence. Follow all of us, and all will be well. Promise. So anyway, here I am on Saturday night and having to discuss this sort of thing. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Tomorrow night, we're going to go and 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Myself and Jimmy Sutherland from KRTD Media, we will be co-hosting my live stream. We do it once a month. We try to do it the first Sunday of the month, and I usually co-host what on KRTD Media with her on the first Monday of the month. But we had a little situation. She had her snowstorm in California that she went through, so all is well, and everything's sort of back to normal. So we'll be co-hosting tomorrow night, and hope you all would join us. And tonight at midnight, Warren, Uncle Warren, and Miss Jimmy Sutherland will be co-hosting the Secret Show. So urge each and every one of you to drop on by and to watch the Secret Show. It's the best thing to do on Saturday night. So or equal to watching this show, and you know what I mean. So there is that. So with no further ado, speaking of the Secret Show, Extra Booyah, Warren, apparently with no alternatives really, with Marianne Williamson running to challenge Biden in the primaries, trying to be the next Bernie Sanders, and that's what she's going to end up being, probably not doing as well as Bernie Sanders. She's going to try to shift Joe Biden to the left. And so, why, as I said, I'm not like some of the others that wants to sit there and to crap on her about it. I have nothing against her. I really don't. I think she's an okay person. I just don't see where it's feasible for her to go in and do this when she could go with independent politics. So, but anyhow, what I'm going to do is we're going to play a campaign ad by the guys from Due Dissidence. That is right, Keaton and Russell. They have endorsed Uncle Warren of Extra Booyah for president. So with no further ado, I think that what we're going to do is we're going to play that video, that very same video, to start off the show. So I hope you all would consider supporting Uncle Warren for president, because Biden, Trump, or DeSantis got nothing to offer us. So, why not vote your conscience? That's what I say. So let's get started with Uncle Warren for president. Extra Booyah. Endorsed by the two guys from Due Dissidents.
We got to find a candidate.
Yeah, we have to find a candidate.
I'm telling you, I keep saying that. We got to pull a Pat Paulson and run you.
I was just going to say, not me, although I am old enough. We can run Extra Bulla. What about Extra Bulla? You want to run for president?
Extra Bulla for president.
Yeah. I think you'd be a great.
He'll be a good
president. Not only would it be a fun campaign, but I think you'd actually be a good president.
I mean, the good thing about having Joe Biden is, anybody looks good by comparison. Like, what are you going to do worse?
Right. No, it wouldn't be any worse.
Yeah.
I don't know. Extra Bulla doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would throw a phone at a person.
No, probably not. Or scream at cancer and AIDS patients. Probably not. Anybody looks good by comparison, right? Like, what are you going to do worse?
There you go, folks. There you go. You have an opportunity to go and vote for Warren for president if you like. Hold on here. So I will probably play that video again before the night is up, just in case. Just because it looks like we only have one or two people here so far right now. So we'll play that video again when it picks up. So there is that. So as I said, I like the idea of Warren running for president in the year 2024. So, Jimmy Dore's not going to run for president because it sounds like it's just all conjecture. So why not? So, and some people are going to be like, well, why are you sitting there always wanting to support a third party campaign? Well, because neither of the two parties have anything to offer us. Yeah, you're just going to go make it easy for Republicans to win. Well, Republicans will find a way to win. And when they don't win, the Democrats end up doing their dirty work, usually in a slower pace. So honestly, this is not hyperbole. It's the truth. It is the truth. So I just want to make a quick reminder that we have super chats. And I just want to make that as a quick reminder so you all would know that. So feel free to donate to KRTD, Converse News Group, if you like. So if you don't hear me using foul language, it's because we're monetized. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this whole woke thing. But, first, I want to tell you like it is. When you think about who are controlling the narrative of the word woke in a negative way, would be the far right. And what they have to offer to us, is it better? Because they're not offering us anything that's called free thinking and liberty minded, even though some of them will say they use the term of how they're for the liberty and all of that, and never fall for that rubbish, because this is supposedly like a slam on Tucker Carlson, and I have my problems with Tucker Carlson, but there are people worse than Tucker Carlson, and the person he's talking to is worse than Tucker Carlson. And that is Jesse Kelly. And Jesse Kelly is calling for fascism. So I want you to listen to this. And when people talk about woke, if you think woke is bad, well, is this better?
Jesse, thanks so much for coming on. How do you think it would work if you lied on a federal gun form?
I think I wouldn't be on your show right now unless they were allowing me to do it from Fort Leavenworth somewhere. We both know how this works, Tucker. It's just item number 1,000 in proving to people that there are two different sets of rules in this country. There are rules for powerful Democrats, and there are rules for people like you and I. This is what they do, and people are sick of it. It's making people feel hopeless. It feels like there is no justice out there. It feels as useless as going to a feminist rally and trying to find a woman who can cook.
That's not even funny.
I think you make a really solid point about the sadness and the powerlessness that people feel in the face of this. And at some point, people are going to say, why should I follow the rules? Why should I be a good citizen if they don't have to follow the rules? I mean, things kind of break down at some point, don't they?
Well, they will break down. They are breaking down, Tucker. I've said this before, and I'm telling you, I'm worried that I'm right. The right is going to pick a fascist within 10 to 20 years because they're not going to be the only ones on the outs. There's 60, 70 million of us. We're not a tiny minority. And
you just heard him say it, folks. You just heard him say it. That the right's going to pick a fascist. They have chosen some fascists along the way already. I mean, you know, look at the clown down in Florida, Governor Ron DeGrumer. And for those, remember the hashtag Ron DeGrumer. I just want you to remember that. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to write that, post that right this moment. So I want you to remember this hashtag. Hashtagged for Governor Ron DeSantis, because that's what he is. As far as I'm concerned, he is hashtag Ron DeGrumer. Forget stuff like what you call it. Forget things like Meatball Ron and Wrong Sanctimonious and stuff like that. Forget about that. It is Ron DeGrumer. Ron DeGrumer is what you call the man. That's what he is. He is, and that is not a slander, because I'm not the one that came up with the accusation. It was another public figure, former president, that came up with it. So if he can't get in trouble, I can't get in trouble. So anyway, and that was a very suspicious looking picture a while back. So we'll let this Jesse Kelly clown continue.
And if we're going to be all treated like criminals and all subject to every single law while Antifa Black Lives Matter guys go free and Hunter Biden goes free, then the right's going to take drastic measures. And it's not about Hunter Biden and his drug use. Nobody cares that guy was bumping booger sugar lines off European hookers on the weekend. It's about justice that he's never held accountable for, and none of the Bidens are. But you would be, Tucker, and so would I.
Okay, so that is Jesse Kelly. He is probably one of the worst people on the far right now in the media space. And you know, when he ran for Congress, there was several years ago, he ran for Congress, and he was endorsed by a right-wing activist from North Carolina by the name of William Geen of ALIPAC, who is a staunch anti-immigration activist. And that is a red alert. If you ever get a chance to look at him up, William Geen, and he's a horrible human being. So unfortunately, I knew him. So he wasn't a right winger when I knew him, but he became one later on. And I don't mean like a normie Republican. I mean like woohoo, woohoo, you know, makes Alex Jones look like Kyle Kalinske by comparison. That's where he's at. So anyway, we will continue. Right now, I want to talk about this whole wokeness and how the right sometimes either vilify it or weaponize it. And there's like two subsections of the right that will weaponize it. There's the Republican right and the right wing in general, and then there's the centrists, or the moderates of the Democratic Party, the establishment Democratic Party, who are, in my view, right wing too. I think that Joe Biden is a right winger. I think Kamala Harris is a right winger. Yeah, I think, I think Pete Buttigieg is a right winger. I think that, Amy Klobuchar is a right winger. They're too far right for me. Hillary Clinton is a right winger. Barack Obama is a right winger. Dianne Feinstein is a right winger. At this point, I'm willing to say AOC is a right winger. So you get my point. When you don't do anything for working people, you're a right winger. And so there is that. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the situation with Ben Shapiro and Anna Kasparian. So, and before we get started, let's find that shot real quick, that the photo shot, and I can make that quick explanation for you. Okay. Oh, here it is. Here I am. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we are right now. With regard to Ben Shapiro on his show Daily Wire, Anna Kasparian's been showing up on there quite a bit lately, and they've been having a dialogue. I don't have a problem with people having a dialogue that disagree with each other. Not one bit. I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with each other. And I don't have a problem with people disagreeing and getting along with each other. I really don't. The only time I do is when somebody is going to be a jerk about it. And that's when I may take exception, a very strong exception to this. So, what I'm going to say right now is that she's been up there and she's been debating Ben Shapiro. Now, I'm not a strong fan of Anna Kasparian these days, nor the Young Turks. I think the Young Turks have lost their way, in my view. I think that they have gone to the center. They have been offered a lot of money by Clinton donors, and they have lost their way in ways that they're almost they're basically almost you almost can't tell the difference between them and MSNBC these days. I mean, honestly, you could put almost all of them at MSNBC and you will hardly notice any difference. Whereas at one time they were like they were cut above it all. They had an independent streak about them, and that independent streak is gone. It really is. So anyway, suffice to say, they're still capable of doing good stories every once in a while, and I think that's by design. But still, Anna Kasparian has some good takes, and she did on the various issues she debated with Ben Shapiro on. Of course, it doesn't take a lot to have a better take than Ben Shapiro on any given subject. Ben Shapiro is as strictly down the line Republican on every conceivable issue you can imagine. I mean, you all know about Ben Shapiro. I mean, he is as predictable. He's almost a robot Republican. I mean, he's basically he's basically Rush Limbaugh in a millennial body, and that's basically what he is. I mean, he gives you a kind of a younger appearance to a no offense to boomers, because I use that term and I don't mean it, because there are people who are boomers who are good people, and there are people who are Generation Xers in my age group. They're cringy, and same thing with millennials, and you can find people in various age groups that have horrible viewpoints and good viewpoints. So there is that. But the point I'm trying to make is that Ben Shapiro and Anna Kasparian has been debating lately about various policies, and there's maybe some degree of a positive outcome to this because, Anna Kasparian, will make her case for Medicare for all and things like of that nature. And hopefully she will open their eyes. One of the few things she's not wrong about with the new direction of the Young Turks. So having that said, I think that she was taken for a ride a little bit, taken advantage of, because this past week on Twitter, let me find the tweet, and I'm going to make I'm going to have to make my little disclaimer here before I get started with the tweet. I am 54 years old, and all my life, and nothing's about to change. All my life, I've been a strong supporter of LGBTQ equality, 100%. We're talking about not just equality across the board as far as civil liberties is concerned, but marital equality, equality when it comes to serving in the military, if we must have a military. Equality in terms of adoption rights, things of that nature. Non-discrimination, fighting against discrimination at the job, that sort of thing. It should be a non-issue. It's a non-brainer, no-brainer, as they call it. And so there's been a lot of strides made in the LGBTQ community as far as freedom is concerned and equality. There's still some battles they need to win and all that. But to suggest that Anna Kasparian, whose views on the LGBTQ equality is a pretty damn good position. She is not a bigot in any sense. She's a standard progressive on the issue in that regard. To suggest that she's some kind of a bigot is ridiculous. Let's go with the tweet. So, okay, let me find the tweet real quick. So Ben Shapiro retweeted this tweet by that she initially came out with, byproduct of somebody named Colin Wright, who I have no idea who that person is, even though he's got a little blue dot Twitter thing, a blue mark, whatever it's called. She says, quote unquote, "I'm a woman. Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or a person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this shit." Oh, I'm sorry. This, crap. I'm sorry. I monetized. I'm sorry about that. Okay. And somebody responded, "Oh, F off with this stupid made up BS." And somebody named Alejandra Carbello, and man tells woman concerned about dehumanization of erasure of woman, the language to F off and stop whining. Misogyny now with a lipstick. Okay. All right. And Ben Shapiro went and retweeted this whole exchange. Now, a lot of people said that Anna Kasparian played into the hands of Ben Shapiro and the right, I guess, by coming on the show and having some kind of dialogue with him and all that. And that she's doing a disservice to the transgender community with this tweet and everything. Okay. If I was a quote unquote cisgender woman, I don't know if I want to be called a birthing person. I mean, it's just a kind of an obnoxious term, or an individual person who menstruates or what have you. I mean, I don't think it's erasing womanhood per se, but it is a little bit awkward language. The language is awkward. And I believe in accommodating the trans community in every way possible, and it can be done without doing it in a way that would step on the boundaries or step on the shoes of cisgender women. So, and that's where I stand. And some people think that's a bigoted position, and well, okay, think it is all you want. That doesn't make me a bigot saying this sort of thing. I'm opposed to political correctness and all that. So and I am like 100% in favor of trans right across the board. I have trans friends, for example. So, and I identify with the cause, and I think it's a noble cause, and equality is not a special right. It is reasonable to want equality across the board. But an individual has a right to be called whomever that individual wants to be called. If somebody named Nicholas wants to be called Nick, don't call the Nick Jonathan. Call Nicholas Nick, because Nick wants to be called Nick. If Bethany wants to be called Beth, don't call Bethany Karen. Call Bethany Beth. If a cisgender woman wants to be called a woman, you call her a woman. If a transgender woman wants to be called a woman, again, call her a woman. And whatever you may think personally, okay, it doesn't matter one way or the other. I mean, it's as far as there is no harm in this. So I mean, it's just another part of the culture war that's being exacerbated by the people on top to go and try to divide, because America does not have a class division culture like other societies, so it's easy to distract people on issues relation to class. And I'm not going to sit there and throw either community under the bus on these issues. So it's just Ben Shapiro trying to take advantage of the situation. Now, while I sat there for the last few minutes defending Anna Kasparian, here's my opportunity to criticize Anna Kasparian and people who would usually defend Anna Kasparian, because while she wants to sit there and have a dialogue with Ben Shapiro, why the heck is it okay to have a dialogue with Ben Shapiro, right? Why is that okay? But heavens forbid that the idea, the idea of 2020 presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard, for example, going on Tucker Carlson and sometimes substituting for Tucker Carlson. Why is that controversial? Why is that a terrible thing? And why all of a sudden a lot of progressives are saying, well, she's just no different from Marjorie Taylor Greene or something like that. Now, I have some problems with Tulsi Gabbard on some of her positions today. And you're talking to somebody who supported Tulsi Gabbard not as the presidential candidate in 2020, but somebody who wanted her to be Bernie Sanders' running mate or serve in a Bernie Sanders cabinet. That was my position on Tulsi Gabbard. I've always felt like that Tulsi Gabbard, when she ran in 2020, her role was unofficially to be Bernie Sanders' attack dog, to take out Bernie Sanders' opponents on the stage, to take out the Kamala Harris's, to take out the Pete Buttigieg, to take out all the other Democrats that were running in the primaries. I think that was the intention. And that was why the establishment and the media decided to go and find ways to keep her out of the debates. So she was like at one debate after the other. And then the next debate, she was not allowed to show up. And then the next debate, she was there. And they did a number on her. So she feels a great deal of resentment for what they've done to her. And then add to the fact that Hillary Clinton, who's a right-winger, and more right-wing, even now, I say she's more right-wing than Tulsi Gabbard, even though people want to write off Tulsi Gabbard as a right-winger. And I will embrace Tulsi Gabbard now in the year 2023, March 25th at 9:46 p.m. right here. I would embrace her any day before I embrace Hillary Clinton. You heard me say that, any day. And I'm saying this with somebody who has I frown at some of her opinions, referring to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard was accused of being a Russian asset and accused of all kinds of things. All kinds of accusations were made against her, and people felt sorry for her who were libertarian leaning. And I remember Ron Paul endorsed her, and I remember Tucker Carlson started having her on the show. And so a bunch of people who would not normally be too receptive to Tulsi Gabbard started liking her, and she where the affection was. So a lot of people, who claim to be so politically correct on the left went to the defense of Hillary Clinton, who is a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant type woman, and kind of threw this woman of color, Tulsi Gabbard, this Hindu woman from America Samoa, who was a member of Congress from the 2nd District of Hawaii, threw her under the bus. Some of the progressives did the same thing too. And she gets a lot of pushback for going on Tucker Carlson. So there is that. And Anna Kasparian was one that was kind of attacking Tulsi Gabbard for things like Russia connection and things of that nature. I have my opinions about Tulsi Gabbard in regard to Russia. I may do a video about that in the near future. I just don't think it would be too appropriate to talk about it here today. I'm going to go and pause for a second and tell you that we have super chats, and I just want to say that to let you, each and every one of you know. So just to let that y'all know it right now. So anyhow, former TYT member Jimmy Dore was on Tucker Carlson from time to time in the last couple of years, and they give him grief over this. We're talking about the Nomiki Kontzes and the Sam Cedars and all of these folks giving him a lot of grief. Anna Kasparian, all of them going on Tucker Carlson. But apparently, Anna Kasparian can hang out with Ben Shapiro. I got news for every one of y'all. Ben Shapiro ideologically is worse than Tucker Carlson on the woke spear of things. Because, Tucker Carlson was against the Iraq War very early on, one of the first conservatives to turn against the Iraq War. Ben Shapiro still supports that genocide of the Bush-Cheney doctrine. And Tucker Carlson supported same-sex marriage very early on as one of the first conservatives to do so. Ben Shapiro wants to go and reverse LGBTQ rights right now. So, but his record on trans rights are pretty bad. I grant you that. But he has Jimmy Dore on the show, and and Tucker Carlson's correct on Julian Assange, and people like Jimmy Dore convinced him that Julian Assange ought to be freed. So, but he gets a lot of grief. Jimmy Dore gets a lot of grief for being on Tucker Carlson. And another person that gets a lot of grief, another person that was kind of a what you call the toast of the left at one time was Glenn Greenwald. Is Glenn Greenwald. He gets a lot of crap for this as well. And again, we're talking about a Jewish gay man that lives in Brazil, married to a brown-skinned gay man. What's his name? David Miranda, who is a Trotskyist member of the Brazilian Congress. And they accuse Glenn Greenwald of being pro-Bolsonaro when Glenn Greenwald is responsible for Lula da Silva being freed from prison. We're talking about a man that supported Bernie Sanders for president in 2020 and presumably in 2016 as well. We're talking about a man that was calling out on the injustice against Julian Assange, Ed Snowden, and Chelsea Manning. We're talking about somebody who was a critic of the Iraq War during the Bush-Cheney era. Somebody who stands out against repression of civil liberties here in the United States. Glenn Greenwald never said he was a revolutionary socialist or Marxist, even though he's married to a Trotskyist. If anything, Glenn Greenwald might have been a down-the-line generic liberal Democrat. But on the issues of national security, issues of civil liberties, and things of that nature, and press freedoms, things of that nature, freedom of expression, civil libertarian across the board. And he's called a right-winger. And that's Anna Kasparian. That's my little spiel on Anna Kasparian and how inconsistent she is. And, with regard to what I have to say, entering to this whole video commentary about this woke subculture that the right wants to go and vilify. So, okay, so let's go with the 2008 election, because and this is where things get very interesting, because and there's a history to this woke thing, but I'm mentioning that all of this in political context. So you can see right now with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama here, and they are. Let me just interrupt for a second. Hey, Warren, how are you today? I just played your campaign commercial in the very beginning of this video, and I will probably be playing it again before the night is up. So I just want to let you know. So if you do run, good luck on your presidential campaign. So anyway, you can see right here where Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are very chummy. It wasn't always that way. I remember in the 2008 presidential primaries, the Democratic primaries, and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were going around and in the primaries along with John Edwards and all these other folks. At that time, I was for Dennis Kucinich, and of course, he dropped out fairly early. And Barack Obama was a newcomer. And I think he was dipping his toes for the year 2012. I don't think he really thought he was going to get the nomination. And he started to beat Hillary Clinton in the primaries, and it started to end up being a very bitter primary, just like it between Bernie and Hillary later on in 2016. It was that back then it was Hillary versus Barack Obama. The difference was that Barack Obama was every bit as much of a corporate Democrat as Hillary Clinton. Maybe a little bit better, but that's a very low bar. Hillary Clinton used a lot of ID poll, a lot of what you call identity politics against Obama. Believe it or not, using the fact that she's a woman, even though Barack Obama is, a man of color. And believe it or not, she invented birtherism. You know what birtherism was. Remember the right wing, the hardcore right, using the conspiracy theory that Barack Obama was supposedly born in Kenya and he's a secret Muslim trying to destroy Western civilization, which is untrue. But that was the conspiracy theory that the right went along with for many years. I didn't even know it at the time. When I first heard the conspiracy theory back in 2008, it was Hillary Clinton's campaign that came up with the conspiracy theory. And before the term Bernie Bro came along, the predecessor to the term Bernie Bro was Obama Boys. Obama Boys were these lefties in the Democratic Party that knew that Obama was marginally better than Hillary Clinton. Again, the low bar argument. It was like anything but the Clintons, because it was a disaster. So the Clintons were a disaster. They was like, we got to go and find anything to the left of Clinton. And And Barack Obama was just barely to the left of Hillary. So that was just being barely to the left is what actually helped Obama in the primaries. And so, of course, he would go and beat John McCain, and then the conspiracy theories once he was elected, the hardcore right, with the Tea Party rallies, with the I don't have the photos, but you will see Obama, they'll have him hanging from a noose, which is horrible, or things along those lines, or Obama dressed up as an African witch doctor with a bone across his nose, decrying against the Affordable Care Act, which is ironic because the Affordable Care Act was created by the Heritage Foundation, and they try to make Obamacare look woke. And Obamacare wasn't woke. It was a neoconservative plan by the Heritage Foundation. And I don't know if the word woke was being used a lot back then at that point. The words we were using back then was political correctness. And that word's been around since the 1980s. I guess that was when the term was being used. I remember hearing it around the late 80s, 89, 1990, that term. And of course, I've always kind of frowned upon the term political correctness and all that. So anyway, that's the story behind Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton from that time period. And then, they hated each other less as the years went on. And, of course they would, because, it would take someone like a Bernie Sanders, for example, to do this. So here we are right now with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, enter the year 2016. So, and again, she used the ID poll. Oh my God. Hillary Clinton, she's a woman. How dare this old man come along, try to take away her nomination? I don't believe in identity politics, but, honestly, even though I don't believe in identity politics, if she was going to go and do that, I honestly wish Bernie Sanders would have responded. Oh, yeah? Well, what do you got against a Jewish man becoming president? Honestly, he could have just done that to her, and that would have just, smacked her down, figuratively speaking. So, and the Hillary Clinton campaign used the term class reductionist, and that's when I first heard of the term, the term class reductionist back then, which is, I should have known what the term meant, because it goes back to the 1930s, I believe, but the term class reductionist, and we all kind of know what a class reductionist is, and some of us who are not like, many of us, we support the same thing as the woke, or what they call the SJW, or what the politically correct supports. We're just not like nuts about it. We're adults about it. We don't do the cancel culture, and we support free speech. And that's what makes us different in that regard. Now, the right don't see us that way. They think that we're indoctrinated. They think we're woke. They think that we do practice cancel culture. They think we do practice censorship. We do practice these things. And it's turning out, when you go and look, the cancel culture has always been perpetuated by the right, and the censorship, and and the authoritarian response to certain speech and certain ideas. Well, what is considered acceptable and non-acceptable, unacceptable. So anyway, but then again, I would consider Hillary Clinton right-wing. Remember that the Democratic Leadership Council was created, wasn't created by Clinton, but the Democratic Leadership Council was created by a group of very conservative Democrats in response to the Walter Mondale defeat in 1984 with the Ronald Reagan 49-state landslide. Oh, not again. We can never have a 49-state landslide. But what these dumb people in the Democratic leadership don't realize is that you'll probably never see a 49 state landslide again in this country. 1984 was it. 1972, 1984. The country is ideologically too divided. It's culturally too divided. It's all these things. You're never going to see a landslide again like that. You will see a congressional landslide, midterm landslides. You'll see that, but you will never see a presidential election landslide. But there's been so scared of that presidential landslide that they allow much worse to happen since then, the Democrats. 1994, the Democrats lost both houses of Congress for the first time since the 1950s. I mean, they've been out of power for the first time since the 1950s. And it took them 12 years to get it back. And then they lost it again during the Obama years because they decided to do the same old third way crap. And the Republicans barely were able to get a majority because this time, the Republicans were so insane that the people were kind of turned off by it. And finally, people are waking up to the fact that the Republicans are just bat crazy. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that with Hillary Clinton, she used this whole thing and this ID poll and all of that, and of course we know what happened in the primaries. No details, but in Donald Trump won that election in 2016. Vladimir Putin didn't put Donald Trump in the White House. It was Hillary Clinton's lousy campaign. And those 4 states that she needed to go into, and she never bothered to go, she could never be bothered to go into because she was too proud and too good to go into those states. Talking about Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And those states were crucial. They wouldn't even allow Bill Clinton to go and campaign in those states. And he's a horrible person, but he was charismatic enough that he probably would have been able to carry it over. Didn't happen. But they blame the Bernie bros for this. Bernie Sanders supporters. So anyway, in 2022, when Joe Biden won in 2020, and the Build Back Better that was largely constructed by Bernie Sanders went to a screeching halt and became nothing as a result. And they were saying things like it was woke and all of that. And that's the answer by the right wing in this country. Anything I don't like is woke. So, and let's see, where can I find it? So these 2 jerks, and there's an irony to this. These 2 jerks, Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, put a stop to this because who needs Republicans when you have Democrats like Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin? And they're both Joe Manchin is not just a corporate Democrat. He's like a corporate Democrat that's almost a cultural Republican. But because he's in West Virginia, he knows he has to be a Democrat. And that's what it comes down to. And he found certain things about, because he basically is a Republican in a lot of ways. Remember, he had one of the highest he voted with the Republicans and with Trump like well over 60% of the time in the U.S. Senate. And then Kirsten Sinema. A lot of right-wingers started to, and under normal circumstances, a lot of right-wingers would not like her. She started off in the Green Party in the 1990s as an activist student, ended up running as a Democrat in the U.S. House, and then become a senator. So we thought in the year 2018 she was going to become another Bernie Sanders, maybe. She ended up turning into being a Joe Lieberman as a hipster female is what it ended up being. And here's the thing. She got elected as the first atheist and the first bisexual woman elected to the U.S. Senate. And she runs across all the cultural check marks of what it means to be woke. And she put a stop to a piece of legislation along with Joe Manchin that was supposedly woke, like lowering Medicare eligibility down to 60 from 65, lowering prescription drug costs, free community college tuition, parental leave, infrastructure, jobs program, Green New Deal reform, labor law reform to make it easier for unions to organize, and a host of other reforms. And these things were probably the most bold program, social spending program, since the days of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal and LBJ's Great Society. And it would have made a fundamental difference. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it would have made a fundamental difference to humans, to human beings in the United States. But these two creatures named Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema helped the Republicans destroy it. Now, there was a lot of other Democrats that didn't like every provision, so they do play also a role in getting the provision all shoddy too. But these two were the linchpin that made the situation of Build Back Better dead on arrival. And this is my opportunity to let people know, another example to know why Jimmy Dore was correct and AOC and company were wrong to not use force to vote. Because here's an example where two right-wing factions use force to vote and it worked on their behalf, and the left did not use force to vote. And the thing that they were supposed to use force to vote for, they didn't use it because they were scared if they used it, they weren't going to get the reform that they need to. And guess what? They didn't use it. And guess what? We didn't get Medicare for all. Or we didn't get a minimum wage increase. Because, that was the thing. Medicare for all was the big prize. It was a big thing to go and try to work for, try to achieve with force to vote. And AOC and the squad and the allies who were adjacent to the squad were too frightened to do force to vote. And they had the votes to go and make Nancy Pelosi's life miserable, and to make the Democratic leadership lives miserable, the establishment miserable. And it was promised that you go and vote for Biden. And I knew they weren't going to do it, by the way. But if you go and vote for Biden, we will pressure Biden and the pressure the Democrat leadership to go make life a living hell until they acquiesce to our demands. They don't do jack squat. But Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin used force to vote to destroy a left-wing proposal, Build Back Better. Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar, and all these other creepy right-wing goons in the Republican Party used force to vote to force minority leader who was trying to become the Speaker of the House, and he won, by the way, to force concessions out of him, which worked. So the right wing take some left-wing ideas and make it work to do their own horrible things. But then if the left try to do something, we're called woke. This is where we're at, folks. This is where we are at. So let's go with the next let's go with the next issue here, and that would be getting back to Bernie in a way, adjacent to Bernie, and that is the UK. I call him Britain's better Bernie. A former British Labour Party leader, Jeremy Corbyn. When he took over the leadership of the Labour Party, he kind of pushed the Labour Party back away from the Tony Blair way of doing things. And for those not familiar with what happened with Tony Blair, when Tony Blair took over the Labour Party in the 1990s, he kind of pushed the Labour Party away from its socialism that it was advocating for all these years. For example, Clause 4 of the Labour Party in the Constitution's language took the part about worker ownership out and put in some word salad, flowery rhetoric about how the Labour Party is a democratic socialist political party that sees the community, blah, 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 blah. I mean, anyway, I didn't even think about flashing up the infamous Clause 4 of the Labour Party Constitution up. But anyway, my point is, I mean, in a way, it's not really controversial, but it is. But it was a sign that Margaret Thatcher won in every conceivable way. And that's the problem I had with, as an American, turning socialist. I was finding out about this later on. That was the problem I had with what Tony Blair did. And he became prime minister. And he pretty much continued what Thatcher and Major were doing with continued privatization. It may have been at a little bit slower pace, but, you know, it was just kind of like, and he was kind of doing what Bill Clinton did, you know, with the third way. A lot of that shenanigans, and Labor became more corporatized, and a lot of the MPs were it was less union influence, and it was a bunch of corporate attorneys and business people and all that sort of thing. And then even worse than being a Clintonite, he was also very strongly aligned with George W. Bush during the aftermath of 9/11, including the Iraq War, which ended up murdering over 1 million innocent Iraqis and 4,000 American lives. I don't know how many British lives were lost, but that's also another thing right there. British lives were lost as a result. And instead of listening to people like Scott Ritter, the former UN weapons inspector, who was a guest on my show a few weeks ago, instead of listening to these folks, instead of listening to Scott Ritter, Blair and Bush listened to Benjamin Netanyahu, who was the foreign minister at that time in the Israeli government, who's a war criminal. So you think about it, if they would have listened to Scott Ritter, 1 million people would be alive today. But they listened to Benjamin Netanyahu, 1 million people died. Do the math. And before anybody says, oh, you're being anti-Semitic, you're being like Jeremy Corbyn, you're criticizing Israel. Well, you see the picture of Bernie Sanders right there beside Jeremy Corbyn. Okay? They're like each other's counterparts. And Bernie Sanders is not just Jewish, but after college, Bernie Sanders lived in a kibbutz in Israel. Okay? All right? So I just wanted to make that also clear right there. When Israel was not as right-wing back then as it is now Israel is kind of headed toward a clerical fascism of sorts. I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but anyhow, the thing about it is that with regard to this whole anti-Semitism thing, Jeremy Corbyn is called an anti-Semite because he criticizes the horrible things the Israeli government do to the Palestinians. He's not criticizing them because they're Jewish. He's criticizing bad behavior by the Israeli government toward the Palestinians, which would be no different from bad behavior of any country against another group of people. That's the problem right there. And if the Israeli government were not sitting there purposely creating apartheid-like walls and creating segregated, even in the occupied territories, segregated roads and segregated infrastructures and creating an open air prisons, Jeremy Corbyn wouldn't be criticizing this monstrous behavior by the government. And now they got the worst government they have ever elected, whereby they're so far to the right that Benjamin Netanyahu, in the words of George Galloway, that he's actually the moderate, that the people to the right, the ultra-religious parties are to the right, and that the Labor Party in Israel is a minor party, and Meretz, which was the conscience of the country, a far left quote unquote socialist Zionist party, Meretz, is out of the parliament. And they're the ones who were fought the hardest for Palestinian solidarity. He's called an anti-Semite. Bernie Sanders was called an anti-Semite by Mark Levin and Alan Dershowitz. Mark Levin said, "I don't care if he lived in a communist kibbutz in the 1960s." I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens right there. And so he's been forever smeared. And as far as I'm concerned, Jeremy Corbyn is a good man, and I stand with Jeremy Corbyn. And I oppose all forms of racism. I oppose racial hatred. I oppose the hatred against immigrants. I oppose homophobia, Islamophobia, all of it. I also oppose anti-Semitism. And if I for 1 minute thought that Jeremy Corbyn was an anti-Semite, I would not want anything to do with the man. Jeremy Corbyn is a good man. Jeremy Corbyn is what Great Britain needed as a prime minister. He is what they needed. But unfortunately, he won't become prime minister now. And Bernie Sanders, well, his will is too broken to become president. So, and I don't even want him to run in 2024 for president. I don't think he's going to run in 2024 for president. I barely want him as a U.S. senator. I mean, I guess if I lived in Vermont, I would vote for Bernie Sanders for a U.S. senator. But again, we're talking about barely. I barely want him to run. I wouldn't be upset if he retire. But anyhow, let me go ahead and continue here. So the point I'm trying to make here, folks, is that there's all this projection about wokeness. And what's so weird about getting back to this whole anti-Semitism thing in America, if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic. You're not anti-Semitic, you criticize Israel. And it's really funny that the right wing would go and engage in identity politics in this regard, but for any other group, they wouldn't. Now, and it's also weird because a lot of them are anti-Semitic themselves, especially fundamentalist evangelical Christians. They're scared that God would be pissed with them, so they go and support Israel because they're scared. And this is partly why the Republican Party has a neoconservative foreign policy, warmongering. Don't ever, ever, ever think that the Republican Party turn over a new leaf on the issue just because they might be correct on the Ukraine-Russia situation. That's Russia-Ukraine. Okay, but if something happened and let's say if Iran or some other country started rolling tanks into Israel, you're going to see some of these right-wing people wanting to go and start World War III in this country. In fact, a lot of them were more patriotic toward Israel than they are the United States. I know, isn't that weird? And they wouldn't feel that way about any other country. And while they're technically correct on Ukraine, Russia, a lot of them are horrible on China, Taiwan. They're very hawkish on China, Taiwan, and they're stupid because China is close with Russia. So if you go and F with China over Taiwan, you're going to get Russia mad. And by the same token, if you're anti-China but you're kind of okay, or you're indifferent toward Russia and Ukraine, then you're kind of you're kind of enabling China. So there's a lot of inconsistent people out there, folks. So so there is also that. And let's see, let me go with this last little segment, and I'm going to go with the chat lines in a few moments here. So okay. And this was kind of hilarious. When what's her name? Bethany Mendel was having a conversation with Brianna Joy Gray over wokeness, and Brianna Joy Gray asked her what wokeness was, and she wrote a book about wokeness and done a campaign against wokeness, and she couldn't define what wokeness is, and she can't define it. And this is what it boils down to, because when it comes to the right, the wokeness has either become, at best, we're talking about at its best, or basically anything that's remotely center left, I dislike. Yuck. They used to call it socialism. For a while, they just call it generic liberalism. So woke just means anything I don't like that's even vaguely left. At its most sinister, they think it means, it has racial connotations, that sort of thing, or it has a pro. They think of it in terms of LGBTQ, and I'm sorry, if an individual who is, a gay man having sex with another gay man ain't woke. It's just two gay dudes having sex. Okay. I mean, what's woke about that? People been having sex for generations and generations, centuries after centuries, and millennium after millennium. So, regardless of sexual orientation, but for some reason they want to call anything they don't like as woke. And and of course, Brianna Joy Gray did what she normally would do. She just sits there patiently and let these opponents make their little stupid argument and their stupid little hacky points, and she kind of let them have it, and voila, she will defeat them in an argument. So there is that. We're going to go with the chat lines real quick, and right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and play that campaign commercial once again that I started off this video with Extra Booyah Warren running for president. So here's to you, Warren. Good luck on your presidential campaign if you so decide to run. So here we go. Endorsed by Keaton and Russell from Due Dissidence, of course.
We got to find a candidate.
Yeah, we have to find a candidate.
I'm telling you, I keep saying, man, we got to pull a Pat Paulson and run you.
I was just going to say, not me, although I am old enough. We can run Extra Bulla. What about Extra Bulla? You want to run for president?
Extra Bulla for president.
Yeah, I think you'd be a great.
He'll be our
good president. Not only would it be a fun campaign, but I think you'd actually be a good president.
I mean, the good thing about having Joe Biden is, anybody looks good by comparison. Like, what are you going to do worse?
Right. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be any worse.
Yeah.
I don't know. Extra Bulla doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would throw a phone at a person.
No, probably not. Or scream at cancer and AIDS patients. Probably not. Anybody looks good by comparison. Man. Like, what are you going to do worse?
There you go. All right. So consider supporting Warren for president. Give him your support, folks. So anyway, let's start with the chat lines over here. And Peter is my first name says, do you remember the Public Enemy lyrics? I got so much trouble on my mind that how I feel these days. I'm referring to terms like left wing and right wing. I don't remember that song. I know who Public Enemy is. I never really listened to them. I mean, I appreciate their political message and all that, but I never really listened to their music. I don't know what it means to, but I use them anyway, and I don't know why or what the effects of using left and right wing is. Well, historically, with left and right is something that was used after the French Revolution to separate the National Assembly. Those that were loyal to the concept of the monarchy were represented by the right, and those who supported the revolutions, the radicals, they were on the left. And the left was kind of filled with various types of people, with anybody who was like hyper radical capitalists, all the way to I guess you could say people who had kind of anarchist views of the world. Would be represented by the left in the French National Assembly in the 19th century. Peter is my first name. I just want peace so badly but I don't know how to go about getting it. Well, I think that we're all in that same boat. We're all in that same boat. There's just a lot of conflict that doesn't need to take place, but unfortunately, there's a lot of folks out there that wants to go and use the culture war, because people on the top, I guess it's used a lot, but it's still a fitting term. There is an oligarchy of people who are wealthy on the top, and they want to keep that arrangement going. And they don't want these interlopers around, basically having an egalitarian society. So it's best they keep us all separated with all these little side issues. And this is why you got these issues out there. And it's worked so well in America that you have two right-wing parties to choose from. And again, my First Amendment right to vote for a third party has been largely diminished for many years. And because various states have a right to determine what ballot, what guidelines and you can use to get your party on the ballot. So that sort of thing. And then your access to information has been seriously curtailed on the radio and television. And then the internet was a way out. But now, with algorithms and everything, this corporately controlled press has found a way to try to curtail information as well, online as well. And so wherever you get an edge, they'll try to find a way to interrupt that. So there's that. Let's see. Sniper Hunter said hi, and hi, Sniper Hunter. And I want to let y'all know again, we have chat lines open up. We're monetized now, so just want to let y'all know. So yep. Again, Rhonda Groomer, hashtag Rhonda Groomer. I want you to remember that. Please do remember that. I want that hashtag to catch on. Warren says, hey, Willie and chat folks. And hey, Warren, how are you doing, my friend? Looking forward to the secret show tonight. Let's see. Oh, that was crap. I was in the shower, laughing out loud. Thanks, man. Oh, anytime. Secret Muslim man. I get it. You're talking. You're kind of paraphrasing the song, Secret Agent Man. Secret Agent Man, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Riders. I believe that's who it was. Secret Agent Man. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I know that song. P Stub says, who listens to Anna? Seriously, she's paid spokesperson for TYT that nobody here listens to. Yeah. Her meltdowns are just absolutely Actually, I might play one of her meltdowns. Give me a moment here. Her meltdowns are quite hilarious. Since we were talking about, I can actually access that. Give me a moment here. We'll play her meltdown. Her meltdowns are pretty good. I love seeing those meltdowns that she has. They're just golden. It's on the playlist. Let's see. Oh gosh, where are you? They're just. Here we go, folks.
We don't even have affordable childcare in this freaking country. Okay, and the people who fight against those kinds of laws are Republicans.
And yet,
what do you want them to do with their kids when they have to go to work? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? You want them to answer that freaking question. Answer the question. Journalists, ask them the question. Ask them. Ask them.
Isn't it amazing?
Ask them the goddamn question. God.
Isn't it amazing that not one Democrat has shown 1% of the passion that Anna has today?
They don't care. They're
don't
fine.
care.
They're
They don't
fine.
care.
They're all so old. They don't have to worry about it affecting them. And if they're young enough where it would affect them, they'll get their abortion.
They're going to
Okay?
fly to
They're
Paris.
trading individual stocks, enriching themselves. They're good. They're good. They don't care about you. Make sure you understand that and you feel it in your bones. They don't care about you at all. All of that fundraising, all of that canvassing, all of that hard work on the ground, they can't even get a voting rights bill passed. They're losers.
Trisha Briggs writes in,
That's
thank you, Anna,
violence.
for communicating this momentous injustice and the rage we're all feeling today.
Ask them the question. Ask them. Ask them. Ask them. Ask them. Ask them.
They're going to fly to
they're
Paris.
trading it. Ask them.
Okay. Yep. That's always a hoot to listen to. Yep. That is always a hoot to listen to. So anyway, who listens to Anna? Yep. Let's see. Snipe Hunter says, "Hey, Extra Bullet, are you running for president?" And let's see. Robert Complin says, "My congressperson doesn't support Medicare for all, and she's a Democrat." Oh, Robert, I got something to say to you about that. Most Democrats I've ever talked to that were running for office refuses to support Medicare for all. And that was the one thing they had a strong conviction on. They would be very, very wishy-washy on everything else, but they had a backbone spine on that. They were we're not going to support Medicare for all. And I got to go and be excited by them. Please. So, apparently Snipe. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Peter is my first name, says, "What's your take on Matt Taibbi and Michael Schallenberger's testimony at the House Judiciary Committee on the weaponization of the federal government? I thought it was Watergate 1,000 times worse." Well, as far as the whole thing is concerned, seeing Debbie Wasserman Schultz behavior against Matt Taibbi was very typical of her. She's an authority. She represents what I call the authoritarian center, and that's probably what we're suffering from right now in America. I always said, beware of the authoritarian left, the authoritarian right, and the authoritarian center. And we're under the occupation of the authoritarian center with the Democrats. So, and that's what it comes down to. So, yeah, I stand with Matt Taibbi. So, James Lindsay run the new discourse and trigonometry. Think woke is cancer culture. Lack of debating willingness and grooming totalitarians. Yeah. When sometimes it's weaponized against the left. That's what that kills me, But anyway, it's usually that's the way it works. Some say woke capitalism against America is a big rest. Marwami thinks woke capitalism was invented to and occupy Wall Street. Oh, it's been around since then, by accident, but it's been around. But the thing about it is woke capitalism is as bad as right wing capitalism. I mean, it's still capitalism. It's still capitalism. And there, as far as being woke is concerned, am I woke? I'm probably. There's no probably. I'm with what people would define as the woke people. The only difference is that I don't believe in the cancel culture, and I believe in free speech absolutism. That's the fork on the road where where the division's made with me. Let's see. Why can't I not see everyone's message? I don't know, Lana X. I had no idea. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Peter's my first name. Cancel. I needed. I needed glasses. Her style hurts our cause. Let's see here. Hey, Lonix, tried live chat if you haven't done so already. Yeah, maybe she's doing it from the phone. Sometimes you have to do it right there. So maybe that could be that could be it right there. So hold on here one moment. Let's see. Let's see. Extra bullet saves the day. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 He seems to always saves the day. Let's see. Oh, I noticed Anna's bun is really tight. Yeah, when I notice she gets the most upset the tighter her bun is. If she has her bun not as tight, she's a little more chill. Yeah, that should be everyone's advice to Anna. Stop pulling that hair back especially if you know you got some bad news stories to share with people. Let's see. Dude, she's screaming so loud I don't even know what the question is. Yeah, she's quite something sometimes. I will never forgive her for the way she lashed out at Aaron Matei 2 years ago. I mean, that was just like, I'm done with the Young Turks. When she did her meltdown against Aaron Matei, I was like, I'm done. I mean, and it was funny seeing how Aaron Matei, I don't particularly dislike the Vanguard, but I think they're a little silly at times. And it was funny seeing them getting roasted by Aaron Matei. Actually, it was pretty funny seeing the two guys from Due Dissidence roasting the two guys from the Vanguard recently too. Let's see. Ask them. Yep. I consider most Democrats to be corporate Democrats who don't represent the people. And I'm beginning to think that almost all the Democrats are when you have AOC, when AOC's around basically busting rail workers. I mean, that floored me right there. That's just floored me with the busting of the rail workers. That was such an easy battle for the Democrats to win, the rail workers. Even people who are not particularly keen on unions have a little bit of sympathy for rail workers. And so I think they would have gone along with it. But they didn't. Let's see here. I am having the same problem. Oh, well, yeah. Let's see. Stops change to live. Okay. So, all right. Let's see. About live chat. Let's see. The Yum F's. Oh, I remember when Roger Walters was talking about Shank and Anna. That was classic. So that was, just to hear him go off on them. So anyway, folks, I guess I will say that tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, gonna have Jimmy Sutherland here co-hosting with me, and we're gonna co-host my show and discuss various topics and joke around and all that. And And tonight, in about less than an hour and a half, Warren and Jimmy will be co-hosting the Secret Show. That's Extra Booyah at midnight. So just look them up online and everything, and you'll see. And let's see, what else am I got to say here? Right now, I will be try to interview somebody on my show once a week on the Willie Bragg Show. And trying to work on my interviews, try to do once a week. So right now I'm trying to decide who I'm going to interview, and I'm going to be asking around. So there is that. And so whenever I get that set up, I'll let everyone know. Sometimes it's about a day or two before. Sometimes it's about a week before I let everybody know. So there is also that. So let's see, we have one more here on the chat line. Citizens United money owning both parties sucks. They both support Twitter and big tech censorship. Yes, they do. U.S. Constitution and the works of the founding fathers of the American experiment is in dangerous water. Oh, it's been in dangerous waters for a long time. They're just a little more open about it than it used to be. So anyway, so that's what's going on right there, folks. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's going on that I'm supposed to mention right now. I don't know if anything comes to mind, I will make an announcement about it. I always do. So until next time, I will be back here next week, and I hope to see y'all back here at the here on the Willie Bragg Show Saturday night feature. And of course, you will see me stream on throughout the week here and there. So until next time, remember, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment, because when you press the like, it helps with the algorithms. And that includes the algorithms on my YouTube channel and the YouTube channel on KRTD Media. Feel free to comment either way, because when you comment, good or bad, we'll have a conversation. Also, feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Always reject corporate media, because they have absolutely nothing at all to offer us. Absolutely nothing at all of worth. So do what you can to get these second opinions. Sometimes get 3 or 4 opinions. If you need to get 300, 400 opinions, go buck wild. Do what you can. Create as many Julian Assanges out there. Make trouble for the corporate media and for the politicians. Give them the headache they deserve. And until next time, folks, I am Willie Bragg. I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.